everybody. Welcome to the newest episode of Coffeetable Conversations. I have my new guest here today who's going to talk about his wonderful new comic book. Care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Jon Dexter. I'm the creator of the comics Alpha Dogs and Dime Store Detective. I have a Kickstarter going on right now for my new issue of Dime Store Detective, issues 3 with issues 1 and 2 catch-up tiers. We're almost funded. We've got about 14 days left, so hopefully we can get over that hump and get going on it.
Awesome. Tell me, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good. Going off of this new comic book, what is your big inspiration for it?
So I was a big fan of the old 1940s movies with Humphrey Bogart and all those old black and white noirs.
That's awesome.
And what? And I was I'm sorry.
I said that's awesome.
Oh, hey man. And then I had watched LA Confidential, and that really got me motivated to want to write something like that, a cool detective mystery, a hard-boiled story. And then I wrote one. I didn't like it. It just wasn't all there. There was something missing. And then I listened to this podcast about the Dixie Mafia, who were a real mafia of the Old South in the 60s and 70s and into the 80s. And some people say it's still going on today. It's kind of like the New York Mafia, but of the good old boys down in the Alabama, Atlanta region. Actually, Walking Paul was a true story about the Dixie Mafia, the sheriff that took on the Dixie Mafia. They were drug runners, hitmen, and there's a story about this kid who, even though his dad was this hitman that killed dozens of people, he could do no wrong in his son's eyes. So that was kind of the piece that I needed to really give the story a heart.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so for my story, Dime Store Detective, it's about this detective named Donald McIntyre. It takes place in North Georgia, close to Atlanta. He comes upon this crime scene of the third victim of the serial killer who's left his female victim in this pose in the Appalachian Mountains. And he's left her over there, over the burial grounds. The detective's father and uncle had buried multiple bodies 40 years ago when they were involved with this moonshine war with the Dixie Mafia. So those 4 generations of moonshiners, bootleggers, who are kind of feared but also respected in town. And then this gang comes in and tries to push them out of business and erupts in this kind of rivalry, this bloody war that goes on in 1981.
Interesting.
And the uncle and the father of the detective are trying to find a new place to hide their still. Well, they come upon this cave hidden in the Appalachian Mountains. Even though there's warnings inside the cave, this kind of cool hieroglyphics, I guess you could say, in there.
That's awesome.
So this evil entity gets released and possesses the uncle, and we'll see as the story goes along the fallout from that, and we go back and forth. It's kind of like Stephen King's It meets True Detective. If you're a fan of those two movies, then I think you'd really enjoy it.
Going off of that, like, when do you think you fell in love with comics?
Really, I mean, as most kids like Spider-Man, but it was really in the early 90s when X-Men came out, the cartoon on Fox Kids, that I became obsessed with comics.
That's awesome.
I went back and I used my paper route money to buy the back issues of anything that featured Wolverine and Sabretooth. I was, so that kind of got the ball rolling with my love for comics.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that show so much. That and Spider-Man and Batman animated series, like, those were my.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they still hold up today too. There are a lot of cartoons kind of cheesy, but that was the first like serious
Yeah, that was
comic
like
book TV series.
that was when they were actually like, trying to adapt comic book stories.
Yeah, it was a great time to be a comic book fan.
Absolutely. Going off of that, and like you're growing up, like really becoming a fan of comic books and superheroes. What was your upbringing like?
Pretty much like anybody else, a Midwestern kid. We had nothing really was kind of given to us. We all had to earn what we had back then. So it was a great time. I lived when I was a kid before the internet age. So I'm in my late 40s now. So I had a great childhood riding bicycles, and we lived in town, and it was a great place to be and to grow up. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it was pretty fun.
Um,
And I moved away for many years, for most over 20 years, and then this last year I moved back to close to where I grew up. So it's been
That's
kind
great.
of neat to
what
go back.
what was why did you move back?
My wife got a teaching job close to where we grew up. We were high school sweethearts, me and
Oh,
my
that's
wife and I.
awesome. That's sweet.
Yeah, we were high school sweethearts, and then we ended up moving to. I moved to Florida, and then Missouri, and Indiana, and so but now we're back in Michigan.
That's great.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's really nice getting back to where you grew up, and a place that's really familiar, and a place that you love.
Yeah. I always they always say you can't go back home again, but I don't think that's really true. I think everybody eventually.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah. So anyway, getting back to that. So yeah, it was a pretty fun childhood.
That's great. Going off of that, and like getting into your writing with comics and everything. What's your favorite part of the creative process?
Oh, the initial stage of it when you're coming up with the ideas and jotting them down in a mad fury. That's the fun part
I love
when
that.
yeah, and I wrote Dime Detective. Dime Detective is an 8-issue series, and I wrote every issue in about 2 days. So I wrote the whole thing out, and oh boy, it was.
You're just writing it in a frenzy.
Anyway, what I was saying is, I wrote it all in 2 weeks because it all came together rather quickly, and
That's great.
yeah, it's like I said, it's 8 issues, so and they all have been written out.
Do you usually write in such a quick frenzy?
Yeah, because you're taking a lot of money to create a comic book, a lot of time, a lot of energy, so it better be pretty good. So
Absolutely.
when it hits you and you know that you've got something, you want to get it down, and it's a lot of fun to write. And then the editing part is not as fun because you're going through and analyzing every line of dialogue to make sure it's really good.
Yeah, killing your darlings and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, the whole like 2 weeks thing kind of strikes me as like John Hughes writing like Breakfast Club in 2 days.
Yeah.
In like a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting to see like which creatives are like really fast and which creatives are really like slow. I mean, like George R.R. Martin takes like years and years to write his own book series, and then you have like Stephen King who writes like 5 books a year. Always find that stuff kind of really interesting.
That it kind of just depends on the kind of writer you are, I guess. I don't think one is better than the other.
Oh, absolutely not. Yeah, I just really like to see the difference.
Yeah, well, I think for me anyway, if you got something really good, the story kind of tells itself, and you're documenting the events. You're just writing it down because the story kind of hopefully should kind of tell itself and go in a direction that is pretty clear cut. So
yeah, kind of like you're a historian of like this other world almost.
Yeah, and it's fun to move around and kind of be a part of that other world and creating this hopefully pretty amazing and one of a kind story. And I think Dime Detective is that. It's very different than anything you're gonna get on the comic racks. It's definitely almost like a subgenre upon itself. There's not really too many those hard-boiled crime noir stories with a supernatural element to them.
Well, yeah. Plus, the pulps are kind of died with the superhero genre coming in.
Yeah, definitely. It's not, but it's all it takes is that one really great story to bring things back. The cowboy genre
absolutely
comes and goes constantly.
Yeah, I love that. Going off of that, what's your favorite comic book?
Oh, gosh, that's a tough one. I'd have to say Watchmen still. Watchmen just kind of blew me away. I was not expecting it. I had heard that it was so great, and I thought, it can't be as good as the hype. And I read it. It's been a while. I mean, I didn't. Oh God, it's been about 15 years ago. I read it, and I was just floored. It was unlike anything. Because I had been out of comics for a long time after when Onslaught came on and just killed the Marvel Universe. And then in 2001, 2002 is when the Ultimate Universe started. And Mark Millar and Brian Bendis, I mean, it was just such an amazing job they did with recreating the Marvel Universe. I got back into comics then.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, so many good things came out of that universe, but the only thing everybody remembers is like Ultimatum and all that.
Yeah.
Like the bad stuff at the end.
Unfortunately, they should have never let Jeff Loeb have the reins.
Yeah, just never leave Jeff Loeb alone with any story.
No, it's. Which, I understand what he did because Mark Millar is a very tough act to follow. I mean, for me, I think he's top 3 for me, the best writers, best comic book writer.
What's your top 3?
Mark Millar, Brian K. Vaughan, and Ed Brubaker, currently, I would say.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what are your favorite stories by them?
Respectively. I mean, well, my all-time favorite comic is Watchmen, and second is Why the Last Man. I mean, those two, that's like way up there, and then it's a big dip to the next one. So,
have you read Saga?
Yeah, I read, terrible. I bought because I was such a huge Brian K. Vaughan fan.
Absolutely.
I bought the first 5 issues. And I didn't know they were going to blow up and be worth all this money. I sold them for I thought I did really well. I sold all 5 of them for $70, and I thought I made out.
Dude, you should have kept them.
Oh, I know. They're worth so much money now. So I got to get back into them. I read the first.
You should. You should. It's the biggest indie comic right now.
Oh, I know. It sucks that I sold all my first edition 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was a long time ago. I bought the omnibus, first volume omnibus. I still got to get into it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I know. Yeah, anything he does is good.
I think it's probably his magnum opus.
Really? Yeah, a lot of people say that. I definitely need to get back into it. It's right now I'm reading the Enfield Gang. I've been buying that every month. I don't know if it's every month, every 2 months it comes out, but that's by Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips, who does all the artwork for Ed Brubaker. And I've been reading some Ed Brubaker's stuff. I just bought I've had Saga sitting on my shelf omnibus for 4 months, and I went and bought Ed Brubaker's graphic novel Pulp. So, it's it's the same old thing. It's you've got all these books. it's going to be a huge undertaking to read the omnibus of
Oh, absolutely.
Saga.
Yeah, but I think Saga to me is one of the comics that like reads really well. You know, like it's not too dense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was
and
really fun.
I think that just comes with the style of his writing. That his stuff is really easy for me to read.
Definitely, absolutely. It's not something you got to kind of think about. He's a master. Did you ever read
Absolutely.
Y the Last Man?
I've read a little bit, but I want to like go through the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's one that's been on my mind for a while.
Yeah, it's the great. It's got such a great. The best endings of any saga, no pun intended, is bittersweet. There was always the best ones or
That's
bittersweet
true.
endings,
That's true.
and it very much is. I'm not gonna give anything away, but it's a very bittersweet ending.
And like
and those are the best kind.
and like talking about you know, you have Watchmen as your top. Did you ever read Saga of the Swamp Thing by Moore?
I did. No, it's a great. The artwork was absolutely terrific. What he did was really great. The artwork really stood out for me.
Yeah,
And I did.
John Toddleman and Stephen Bissett are like geniuses.
They are. They are. It was not like nothing I ever seen before. I'm not a big Swamp Thing. I'm not a Swamp Thing fan. I mean, I get why people like it. It's not a character for me. It just is.
Well, yeah.
The character doesn't speak to me.
For me is I wasn't a Swamp Thing fan, but I just read the book, and that's my favorite by Alan Moore.
Oh yeah. I see it, and like I said, I respect it. He did a great job, phenomenal job. Swamp Thing just never spoke to me. I read the first graphic novel when he started. Alan Moore started it off. It was good. Just wasn't for me.
Yeah, but sometime you should revisit that if you want, because it's a comic that always reminds me why I love the art form.
Yeah. That's what always will stand out is the art. That comic was, even if it was a bad comic, of course it's not. But even if it was a bad comic, the art just makes you wanna keep turning the pages.
Absolutely, yeah. It just. Have you ever had like a comic that really just had you obsessed and like you couldn't stop reading?
Why the Last Man is definitely one of them. Off the top of my head, but it just depends. Because if it was, I'm trying to think. Why the Last Man is one that I could not wait to get the next. Because I was getting the graphic novel.
I love
I
that.
couldn't wait to get the next. I couldn't wait to get the next one. I'm not big of the floppies. Because you got to wait so much that I'm more into.
I'm sorry. I'm the complete opposite.
Oh really?
I am. I do have a lot of books, but by and large, I'm a singles guy.
Yeah.
It's just something about it. The paper in my hand is
Yep.
the only way to do it for me.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I prefer that too. I hate waiting for months and months. And if you're a fan of,
I love waiting.
Geez,
That's why I love network television. Because like if there's like a cliffhanger, you gotta wait like a week. It's not a thing anymore, really, except for like a couple shows. But I love the anticipation. Also, I think it keeps things in the conversation a lot longer.
Yeah, that's true. Lost was I don't know if you were around for Lost, but that show.
Oh yeah.
Was like, oh my god.
It was the thing. It was the thing.
Yep. It was definitely you're just biting your nails in anticipation for the next episode.
Well, yeah, I mean like J.J. Abrams. Basically did that twice. I mean, he had Lost, he had Felicity.
Yeah. Which I always wonder if it was so much. I know he gets all the credit, but I really wonder more if. I'm gonna blank his name.
It was definitely more the other guy, in my opinion.
Yeah, because he's done a lot of other top. God dang! I wish Lindroth. Lindoff.
It was
Is his last name.
Damon. I think it's Damien Linda.
Yep.
We'll learn his last name at some point.
Yeah, because he's done a lot of other really great stuff. It pisses me off.
It's Lindelof, I think.
Oh yeah. He did. I don't know if you know this, but he wrote Ultimate X-Men versus Ultimate Wolverine versus Hulk.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
He never finished the damn thing. I was so pissed.
Yeah.
Unless someone else picked it up.
It's such a confusing thing, and yeah, I mean that he's such a prolific writer. I think. He's not like, he's not gonna make it to my top because there's just so many great writers, but I think he's definitely a really talented writer.
Yeah,
which you can tell with Lost.
Yeah, well, Brian K. Vaughn actually was a showrunner on that show during the season. I can't recall which season.
It was just turning out geniuses,
Yeah, well, he was already. I think. It's been a while now because this is back when I was really into Brian K. Vaughn 10 years ago. He based on, I think, probably how good Why the Last Man was. They picked him up, and I think he was a showrunner for at least one season, maybe. Yeah, it was a good season.
I can really imagine that because it's such a big thing, and also, for all J.J. Abrams' flaws, he does keep his eye on like trends and everything.
Yeah. Well, he didn't do a very good job with the Star Wars movies.
No kidding.
The Force Awakens was okay, but after that, disaster.
Well, it's the problem with not having a holistic vision before you start the thing, which I think is it's kind of funny how self-evident that is in what angered so many people about Lost is I don't think they had any idea how that was going to end when they started the show, which is, it happens with most shows that go on for that long.
Yeah, and plus I wonder if they had only like 3 seasons or something like that in their heads, and then it became such a huge hit. It's kind of like Supernatural. The showrunner, the creator of Supernatural, he had planned 5 seasons. I don't know if you ever watched Supernatural, but
yeah, I have.
The first 5 seasons are phenomenal, and then after that, it's kind of not good.
Yeah, you left.
Yeah.
Which I still think it has a satisfying ending.
I haven't seen the ending. I'm up to like season 7. After season 5, it wasn't my, I was like, wait for the next episode, and then after that,
it's not as good as it was, but it's still really good because of the cast.
Oh yeah,
I just don't think you can make a bad Supernatural episode when you have a cast that good. And it's like same thing with like Smallville. They lost the like powerhouse of Gowan Miller. Kind of like it was a little bit more than halfway through the show, but they still kept going, and it didn't have the same flavor. But it was still good.
Yeah. Well, Sopranos. I don't know if you ever watched Sopranos.
I know a good amount about it, but I haven't really gotten into it.
The mother, who was the mother of Tony Soprano, she just stole every scene, and she was great. Well, she died after season 2, and it hurt the series when she left. It was still a good series, but it wasn't as good as when she was on, causing all sorts of havoc.
Well, yeah, it's like, there are just some shows that should probably end when they don't have a particular actor. Because it's really hard to pivot after that. Like they're trying to like revive Frasier.
Are they?
And not have Martin Crane because he passed.
Yeah.
And not have Niles, which basically means not have
No, why don't they have now? He didn't die, did he?
He didn't die, but I think there were like, I don't think he wanted to work with I forget the name of the
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah,
Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, I don't think they're on like good terms.
Oh.
And I think at that point, what's the point of making the show if you don't have that dynamic?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't know. That's funny.
I mean, I got into that show like a while ago. I didn't watch it when it aired, but I got into it a while ago. And I really like it, but I don't think they should do the revival because it's just not going to be the same.
No. I mean, there's both shows they do don't. There's a reason they don't come back, and they're never anywhere near as good as originally. But I'm got my fingers crossed for X-Men '97.
Oh yeah, I'm very hopeful for it because it looks like the team really get it. And also, despite me being incredibly disappointed with like What If, because I think it's just an artistically boring show.
I started watching it. I watched the first 3 episodes.
It's like What If as a concept is great. Like, I love the comics. Like, I love the original
one from the 80s.
Yeah, I love the original like 80s What If comics. But the show is just pretty hit or miss for me. Especially since you have the chance to make it like basically an anthology. Like you have like they're doing a Star Wars animated anthology right now.
Oh,
which like each episode is a different art style. Why isn't What If that?
Yeah.
Why isn't What If that? That's what If should be. And it isn't, which is just what it made it disappointing for me, especially since the art style they chose for What If is boring to me. But I was impressed by the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur show because I think it has a lot of really good passion work behind it. It's just a really unique show, so I'm hopeful that X-Men 97 is going to do well. And maybe if X-Men 97 does well, then we can... I know it's a pipe dream, but I really would love for Spider-Man to get its... like... to get it a satisfying conclusion.
Yeah, it kind of went off the deep end towards the end there.
Poor Semper Jr.
Yes, that was funny, but but anyway, so if people want to go to the Kickstarter and check it out, it's a fun comic book, and
please do, please support this comic because it's I mean at the point we are with like all the different like art industries, I think it's really important to support independent artists like this.
Yeah, and it's a terrific story. If you go to the Kickstarter, I got a great trailer. I don't know if you had a chance to watch the trailer, but we put a lot of time and energy and money into it to kind of really put it on display. So even if you don't seem all that interested, I think if you watch the trailer, if you don't get interested in the comic by just the trailer alone, then I don't know what else to do because it's a terrific trailer and it kind of sets the mood for what the comic book is. Very much a supernatural story, but plus you've got that crime mystery element that runs throughout the series that I think people are really going to enjoy.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. And to finish this, what should we expect from you in the future? Besides just the rest of this amazing comic.
Well, Alpha Dogs, the graphic novel, will be coming out next. I think I'm going to launch that in February 2024. You never want to launch a Kickstarter from November, December, and January because it doesn't do well because everybody's buying Christmas presents.
True.
It's that's a collection of all 4 issues of Alpha Dogs, which is a lot of fun. But you can buy all 4 issues on the Kickstarter for Dime Store Detective too. It was a comic inspired by my own dog, who was a pit bull mix. He actually passed this year after almost 14 years.
Oh, I'm so sorry
He
about
lived,
that.
yeah, yeah.
It,
He lived a long life though. So,
uh,
but we lived in this town that had outlawed pit bulls, so we had the choice to move or get rid of the dog. So of course we moved, and that inspired me to write a comic about this dog that's feared by the public because of his breeding size, but actually has a huge heart.
I love that.
Yeah, he is on the run with his owner and this kind of older, grumpier pit bull from mercenaries that are attempting to kidnap the dogs to manipulate their powers. They
I,
can the dogs can heal from any wound.
I love
They are
that.
smart. Yeah, they can understand human speech. They talk to each other in their own language, and they have I already said heightened strength. So they're getting a lot of they're on the run from these mercenaries, and finally they settle down. They live in hiding in North Carolina, and then their owner brings home her new boyfriend, who has manipulated her, and she divulges the secret of the dog's abilities to him. But little does she know, he already knows of the dog's powers and has created this formula that once in possession of their blood, he creates his own dogs with these incredible powers for his own nefarious plans that he has.
I love this. It's awesome.
Yeah, fun. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of getting bigger a little bit each time. It's kind of got a following now, so it's very different than Dime Store Detective, but just as good. And like I said, you can get all the issues on the Kickstarter that's going on for 14 more days today.
Awesome. It's been an incredible pleasure talking to you. Everybody, please support these comics. Buy some copies and get Dime Store Detective to its goal, and just support this nice and good independent comic book creator.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
And if you could say one thing to the world right now, what would you say?
Oh boy, that could be a very happy subject.
Just leave the world with one thing you want to say.
Treat other people how you want to be treated. I think if we did that, we'd be a much happier society.
It's true. Thank you for coming on today. And I wish you the best of luck with this new comic and future comics. Maybe someday you'll write your Why the Last Man.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I hope so. But you can find me on Instagram at alpha_dogs_comic and on Twitter at Real Alpha Dogs.
Love it. Everybody have a wonderful night, a wonderful day, wherever you are. Be good to each other and be good to yourselves. Good night.
Good night.